To Technique Tuesday, and we are doing Q&A again. So I have a question that came in from a client, and I've actually heard this numerous times. And so the question is, and it popped off my screen. Okay, I'll have to try to remember it. The question is, the my client is they're ready or they're considering quitting their full-time job, which was bringing most of their income, and going and spending, and doing coaching and their online food business full-time to replace their income. Now, this has happened to many of us. Whether it was quitting when do you quit the full-time corporate job or the main income coming in, or it could be, in fact, recently, about a year ago, I had the same issue where I was doing marketing consulting for a client that wasn't the right fit, wasn't my ideal client, but it was my main income. And I decided that I wanted to let go of that client. They weren't the right fit. They weren't who I wanted to go, work with. It wasn't my health and wellness community. And so I left that client to care for my health and wellness community and serve your needs. So this has happened many times. So the really, and it could be many different situations like this. It could be you might be struggling. I had another client who was struggling with changing their business model, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not even sure." So the question is, when you're facing a hard choice, what are some of the steps to go through, or what do you do? What are things to consider? Well, I would say you need to get out of your head. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes when you have a big shift going on, you look at the past to try to get information. And sometimes you can get stuck in the past. Remember, if you had an old business model that worked at one time, you find comfort in that and you're like, well, it worked before, we can get it to work again. Or if you had that full-time job, it's like, well, it was a steady income, it was comfortable. But if that's not what's going to serve you going forward, or if that old business model of the past isn't going to serve you, you need to really take some hard looks at what's happening in your life. And so if you keep replaying the past, you're going to get stuck in it. So you need to get out of your head. So how are the strategies to get out of your head? So first thing is you need to gather information of people who have pursued this new model before you. Okay. What have they done? Other people have quit their full-time jobs to pursue their entrepreneurial dream. What can you copy and paste from them? Other people have changed their business model and they have switched and shifted gears. What can you learn from them? So if there's someone that you can replicate, model from, what did they do? What can you learn from what they put in place? You need to gather that information. Stop looking behind and start looking ahead. Look at what you can replicate. Look at what works and what can you put in place. So that's number one. Number two is, I love this. This is give advice. Okay. And this is great because a number of you are coaches or consultants and you tend to give advice to other people. And when you are giving this advice, you sometimes take a hard look at yourself, and sometimes you are giving the advice, you are coaching people on what you truly need to be implementing yourself. And so this is beautiful because you can look at that and you can say, oh, look, I'm giving this advice because I'm trying to help someone else. And then you can see, oh, I'd be a hypocrite if I don't implement this in my own life or in my own business. So you can take that back. I find that oftentimes I'll be coaching somebody and, I'll talk about how to replicate, repurpose their content. And I'm like, yeah, I need to do that too more. Like there's a lot of content I have out there and I need to repurpose it. And I was like, oh, this is a good advice for them. It's good advice for me. If you're take your own advice. See if you're advising somebody on, pursuing their entrepreneurial dream or, changing their business model. You're just, being there for them and giving them honest advice and not getting so caught up in yourself. Then listen to that advice. Okay, that was number 2. Number 3 is if you, I want you to think about it that you implemented this change. Okay, you decide to go into your own entrepreneurial dream full time. You decide to switch your business model. And I want you to think about if I regret taking this action later, what would that regret be? Okay, so if something doesn't happen right, are you going to regret that action? And it doesn't mean envision all horrible things, but what could, what is your risk tolerance? Be aware of your risk tolerance. And sometimes you will find that when you play it out calmly, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? Okay, can you live with that? So I remember I was advising my daughter, and she was having some difficulty in a relationship with somebody. And I said, okay, well, if the worst happens there, can you live with your decision? And she played it out. And she said, no, this is the right decision because, yeah, I can find a way to make this work. Like, it's not all bad. There are things that even if they take it the wrong way and they get upset with me, the ramifications I can live with because it feels like the right thing. And, there were some good things that could come out of it. In any case, so if you play those scenarios of what are the risks in taking this action, and you say, you know what, I can tolerate those risks. It's worth taking those risks. Then it's the right decision. You have a path to go forward, and you won't have regrets because you already say, okay, I know what my risk tolerance is. So those are my 3 things that I suggest. That as you're dealing with any hard decision, it could be a move, it could be, like I said, I gave a few different scenarios, but this really can apply to many areas of life, just like my example with my daughter. If you have to make a hard choice, then go through these 3 steps. That was gather information and model somebody who's already doing it. It was, if you're giving advice to somebody else in this situation, listen to your advice and make sure you are following it. Because again, you're out of your head. You're helping them. And so you're not going to get lost in your own, other thoughts. And then 3 was, play out and figure out if you did take this action, get some clarity. What are the obstacles? What's your risk tolerance? So that's your Technique Tuesday. If you have questions, please DM me. I love getting your questions, so please send them to me or put them in comments, and I will be looking for them. Until next Tuesday, I'll see you.